Hello! Now, today we are going to be looking at graphs of lines in a little bit more detail and some of the things that we can spot when we're looking at graphs of lines or if we're asked to draw a sketch of a line. Those are our aims for today. Now we're going to start off with some equations of lines which are fairly intuitive but that we might not have thought about before. And we're over on the left hand side of our board now looking at our horizontal blue line coming across here. So if we look at that horizontal blue line, we want to know what its equation is. Now the equation of any line just describes all of the points on that line. Remember that our lines are just points that are all going, are loads and loads of coordinates all sitting together in a straight line, in a straight row. So what fact describes all of the points that are going across our horizontal blue line? Well, if we look at the coordinates of this point here, that would be the coordinate in the door and up the stairs, 1, 10, or this coordinate here would be in the door and up the stairs, 9, 10, or this coordinate here would be this coordinate here would be 6, 10. What can we see about all of our points? And pick any points you like along this blue line. They are always going to have the y coordinate being 10. So the equation of this blue line is straightforwardly y is equal to 10. And that tells us everything we need to know about any point that is on that line. Because that is a fact that describes every single point on our horizontal blue line. Y is always 10. And if we know that it's any point that has y is equal to 10, that will give us all of the points that form that straight line. Likewise, if we look at this vertical red line, what's true about all of the points on this line? Well, we can see pretty much following the same argument that what is common to every single point along our line here is that x is always equal to 13. Any point that we pick on this line, that all have different y's, but every single one of the points on this line will have x is equal to 13. We go in the door 13 in order to get to any point on our red line. So the equation of that line is x is equal to 13. And that tells us exactly what the line is going to look like. And there's nothing else we need to say. So that's how we can, if we have horizontal or vertical lines, we look at what y value is going to be common to all of them or what x value is going to be common to all of them. And we can simply read that off of a graph. We don't need any further information. Now, what we want to look at is how to sketch some graphs. So if we're given this equation here and we're asked to sketch our line, how much information do we ever need to draw a straight line through a particular straight line? We just need 2 points on that line. If we were doing the algebra version of it, we'd use the 2 points, we'd find the slope, and then we'd use the line equation in order to get the equation of the line. Here, we just need to draw a picture. So what we've got to do is get 2 points, find 2 points on our axis, and then we just use our ruler and draw a straight line through them. The 2 easiest points to get are to set x equal to 0 and then set y equal to 0. And if we do that, we'll get 2 points to draw on our coordinates, on our coordinate plane, and then we just use our ruler and draw a straight line through them. So let's do that in practice and see what it looks like. So I want to take the equation of my line and I'm going to set x equal to 0 and then find out what y is going to be. So I set x equal to 0. I put a 0 anywhere there was an x, always sub in brackets. And I get 0 here, so I end up with 6 minus y is equal to 0, and then I rearrange my equation, add 6 to both sides, or move 6 over and change the sign if you prefer. Y is equal to 6. So what are the coordinates of that point? X is 0, y is 6. In the door 0, up the stairs 6. So that's this point here. In the door 0, up the stairs 6. That's that point there. And now we do the same thing with y. We're going to take our equation. We're going to take our equation and we are going to set y equal to 0. And as always, everything we sub in goes in brackets. There's nothing to multiply it by here, so we just end with 3x minus 6 is equal to 0. We're going to move the 6 over to get x by itself. So we're solving for x just like we solved for y. Divide both sides by 3, because 3 divided by 3 will leave us with 1x, which is what we want, and we get x is equal to 2. So what are the coordinates of that point? We go in the door 2, x is 2, and up the stairs 0. So that's another point on a line. We go in the door 2 and up the stairs 0. So that's our point. And now I'm going to draw that line in for you. So we take our ruler and we are just going to draw a straight line through our 2 points. So anytime they ask you to sketch a straight line, you're just going to set x is equal to 0 and then y is equal to 0. You'll get your 2 coordinates, plot them, and draw with your ruler a straight line down through them. And that's all we need to do for sketching our equations of our lines. And it saves us a lot of time because we don't need to do out our table. If we remember, if we were asked to plot, so this says sketch. If it asked us to plot our table, we would have to plot our equation, I should say. So plotting, I will remind you, would have your x coordinates, your left-hand column, then your function. So you'd need to rewrite that in terms of y equals everything. And then you'd have your coordinates over in your right-hand corner. That's what you'd need to do if it said plotting. In this case it said sketching, so we can just get the x is equal to 0 and the y is equal to 0 and draw a straight line through them with our ruler. Now, the next thing we want to be able to talk about is to see if points, coordinates that we're given, are on a particular line. So if we take the same equation as we've already just sketched there, I'm going to look at this visually, and then I'm going to show you how it is that you do it if you're answering a question in an exam. So, are the points 1, 3 and 2, 1 on the line that we just worked out? 3x plus y minus 6 is equal to 0. We just drew a sketch of that line. So let's look at the coordinates 1, 3. So x is 3, y is 1. In the door 1, up the stairs 3. In the door 1, up the stairs 3. That's our first point. Now we can see immediately from our sketch that that's on the line. That's not how we're going to do it in the exam, but I want you to have a feel for what it is the question actually means. That's why I'm showing it to you. And is the point 2, 1 on the line? So in the door 2, up the stairs 1. We can see that point is not on the line. Now, again, that is not what you do for the exam. I simply want you to understand what this question actually means. We're simply checking, are the coordinates on our line? How you do this as a exam question: you take your point, this is your x, this is your y, this is your equation. You are going to put x is 1, y is 3 into this equation and check that the equation works out. And I'm going to show you what works out means. So put in 1 where there's an x, put in 3 where there's a y, minus 6 equals 0. Do out the sum. 3 plus 3 minus 6 is equal to 0. Put that into your calculator and you'll get 0 equals 0. Now 0 does in fact equal 0. This equality is true. 0 is in fact equal to 0. Therefore this is true. Therefore, this point is on the line. It solves this equation. And graphically, you can see that 1, 3 is also on my line. So you can see it from the picture. And this equation gets solved when you put these coordinates into it. We get 0 equals 0, or 3 equals 3, or 10 equals 10. The equality is true. Now let's have a look at 2, 1, which from our picture we know isn't on the line. So we take our point. This is going to be our x, this is going to be our y. Write down our equation as always. When we're going to sub into something, write down the equation we're going to sub into. And everything we sub in goes in brackets. So 3 2 plus 1 minus 6 is equal to 0. Solve this. So we get 6 plus 1 minus 6 equals 0. Put this into our calculator and we get 1 is equal to 0. This is not true. 1 is not equal to 0. So this point, 2, 1, is not on our line, because when we sub in that x and y value into our equation, we get nonsense. We get 1 is equal to 0, or we could get 5 is equal to 0. We get something that isn't true, or we could get 6 is equal to 7. Anything that isn't true, that isn't equal, shows us that this point is not on this line. So if the equation works out, if we get 10 equals 10 or 0 equals 0, something that's true when we sub into our equation, then the point is on the line. If we get something that's nonsense, that 1 equals 0 or that 100 equals 120, then we know that the point is not on the line. And those are the different facts that we need for right now. And there is one other quick point that I want to show you. One quick final point is if we have a line that is going through the origin, and we know the origin means 0, 0, our point over here. We have this blue line here that is going through the origin, and if we have its equation over here, we can see that there's no constant in the equation. There's just an x and a y term, and there's no number other than 0 in its equation. If we look at the equation we started with, 3x plus y minus 6, we can see that it has a constant in it. We have the minus 6. Or if we rearrange this equation, it becomes even more obvious. We rearrange this so y was equal to mx plus c. We'd end up with y is equal to 2x, and you can see that there's no plus c. The plus c is absent from that equation, which means that we have it as 0. So if you get an equation that has no constant term in it, no pure number, or you just have an x and a y, that means that you have a line that is going through the origin, because it crosses the y-axis at 0. So we don't have any constant term other than 0. So if you run across an equation like this that doesn't have your constant term in it, that doesn't have a plus 3 or a minus 10 or something here, that means that you have the equation of a line that's crossing through the origin. And those are all of our different pieces for now.